100 movies, 100 days. This one's out to Josiah. Funny games. This is a great one. Very bizarre, very interesting film I saw. Uh, don't really, uh, don't really know where to begin with this one. It's just a really bizarre one. It's German. I haven't seen many German films, and this one was definitely an interesting introduction to them. Basically, just I'll start with a synopsis. Two psychotic boys go from like rich house to rich house inside of the. It's like a lake like area where there's like a bunch of these like big houses and these really rich families staying there. I thought going into it, like when I first saw the interesting, I thought it was gonna be like anti like materialism, anti richness. No, it's just basically these two guys. One, Paul, he's played by Arno Frisch, who wasn't really in anything else besides this that was popular, and Peter, who was played by Frank. Oh God, Frank Giering. Giering. Basically, these two guys basically torment this one rich family. It's this man, this wife, and then their child, and make them do funny games, which are just these psychotic quote unquote games that they make them play. I thought I was gonna lean more into that. No, it's just they'll be like, oh, let's play this game. We'll do hot and cold to find your dead dog. Crazy stuff like that. Overall, I thought it was actually kind of funny. It definitely is more intended to be kind of lighthearted. It gets a little dark at times, but it's never really that crazy. But actually, no, I shouldn't say that. There's one scene that's pretty depressing, but it is definitely a little more lighthearted, especially with the whole like tormenting thing. It's meant to be disturbing, but in today's times, I think it's relatively funny. Back when this came out, this was probably like but now it's kind of just funny. It's unsettling. The performances were actually like really interesting. They were very like mesmerizing. Like Paul and Peter are very interestingly played characters. The facial expressions they did, the very lighthearted way they took everything, and I just thought overall it was very interesting. Another thing I liked is that it's not an overly violent movie, which is kind of shocking. It's gruesome. There's disturbing aftermaths, but it never actually shows the violence. Everything that happens after off camera. The most horrific thing that happens while Paul is making a sandwich and Peter is doing the horrible act in the background and you don't even see it. He's going into the kitchen to make a sandwich and you only hear what's happening, which I think I always am a believer that subtlety, especially when it comes to this, is way more interesting, especially when a like violent act isn't shown but it's assumed. That is always really interesting because it's left up to your kind of left up to your imagination in a way, and I think that's really cool. It's also like the casual depictions of horrific events are really interesting, especially with the two leads. I talked about them. They're very mesmerizing, very interesting. I really like the way that was all displayed. To kind of get into my dislikes, there's one very long take scene, which is intended to be like a long drawn out thing, which is meant to kind of give you the sense of unsettlingness. I didn't really see into that. Honestly, it was a little boring, if anything. I've seen good long takes. One of my favorite movies, Victoria, is entirely in a one take. It's an hour and a half long, and it's entirely one shot, which is really cool. Like, not one shot like 1917, one shot where they hide the cuts. It is literally one shot. Like, there's no cuts. From start to end, it is one continuous take, and it's very cool. This movie tried to capture kind of that, because a long take, it definitely gives you that sense of drawn outness and a sense of unsettlingness that many other styles of filmmaking can't really bring you. This movie tries it, but I feel like they kind of fall flat in certain degrees, and I don't think that one long take scene was entirely that good. I thought it was kind of actually boring, and I don't think it was necessary. Another thing is there's one part like about halfway in the film where you have a big violent act happen, and after that it kind of all settles down, and you lose a lot of the traction the film had going. It kind of the two psychotic guys just leave to go do something, and the family is kind of just scrambling. And I don't really like that. I think they should have kept the intensity. I think it should have been from start to end a slow build of intensity. Instead, you build up really high, and it plummets down, and then it tries to creep up again, but never recaptures it. It kind of just halfway through the movie, it loses all the intensity, and the second half of it is just kind of boring, honestly. And I don't like that. I think it was missed potential. So yeah, but I still like this movie. Funny Games was still a really interesting movie. My favorite scene being when, this is a minor spoiler, in the beginning they kill their dog. It happens really early on, so it's not really that big of a spoiler. And basically they're like, where did the dog go? They're like, oh, we'll help you find him. And he starts playing hot and cold with the wife, and he's like, Hata, Gorda, Hata, in his thick German accent, and it's really funny. And he turns to the camera and he winks when she's getting close to it, and that's incredible. That's hilarious. I love the fourth wall breaks in this movie. There's one crazy one like near the end of the film where there's this absurd fourth wall break. I thought that was super funny. But again, besides that, the movie is a little uninteresting at points, so it definitely brings it down. I give it an 8. I think it still was a really fun movie. I personally enjoyed it, but I definitely see a lot of flaws with it. But for its time, I think this was a really cool film. So yeah, definitely go see Funny Games. I had to rent it on Prime, I'm pretty sure, but it's worth it. It's like $4. So yeah, go watch it now. If you don't, I'm gonna be very mad at you. So yeah, get out of here. Goodbye. That's that.